Yo, well, it's still hard for me to believe that it's been 10 years of me running the Flatmatters website, but it has. And it's been an amazing week here. I've really enjoyed putting together these episodes. And if you have been paying attention, you'll realise that episode 1 was my first proper edit after 10 years. Yes, true story. Obviously, I've done the how-to videos, but that was my first edit on a laptop and experimenting with the audio levels and the titles and making the whole edit flow together. So I feel pretty excited that 10 years on, the website's obviously now going to take a little bit of a new direction because now I've learned to edit. You might see a lot more footage. I'm hoping to do some footage from my coaching sessions at Eastney Community Centre. So you have to bear with me. I've got a stinking cold at the moment, so it's really hard for me to talk. But I just wanted to say thanks to everyone that contributed towards the Flatmatters episodes, whether you were on the actual episodes or you've commented and watched the videos. Thank you very much. Thanks to all the viewers at Flatmatters at home. You're a big part of why I'm doing this. I've had so many messages and support this week. My phone has literally not stopped. It's been hard to get my phone over 50% all week. It's just been insane. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, and I want to finish this off with a return to sort of like when Flatmatters begun. So I'm thinking back to around about 2000 King of Concrete when we did the Flatmatters Adidas shirt that some of you may have heard me talk about before. Paul Chamberlain was one of the riders on the rise at that point in the UK flatland scene, and I've kept in touch with Paul all these years since he left the country and now lives in Australia. So Paul went off a little bit of a tangent and told a little funny story about me and when we were growing up, and I thought it was a fitting way to end this video and series. 10 years of Flatmattersonline. Wow. Thank you.
Big shout out to Ephraim, thanks for the opportunity to talk for what is 10 years of Flatmatters, would you believe it? I'm Paul Chamberlain, I'm 36 years old. Today, if I'd done this yesterday, I could have said I was 35, but I turned 36 today. And I've been riding since I was 21. So what's that, 15 years. I've been riding Flatland for 15 years. I rode a bit before that, park, street, stuff like that, but you know, nothing too serious until I started riding Flatland. But from then it was on, I suppose. I'm a teacher, live in Australia right now, but I'm from the UK. I've got 2 kids and just moved to this place. So I've got a backyard with a lemon tree in it and an olive tree as well. So if anyone knows how to make olive oil, let me know. So I'm just going to tell you a little story about Ephraim first. So years ago I was at the Urban Games, and I remember one year I was dressed in all black with my all black bike, just like Lee Musselwhite, and I was trying to do to G-turn pedal hang fives, because I was pretty good at pedal hang fives back then. And I've got to the point where it was like I was going backwards, but it was like here, and I was just waiting for that moment where I was going to go over the bars, just hanging on. So I've rolled, had to jump over the bars, but as I jumped over the bars I've clipped my foot on the grip, bam, gone over the bars, laying on the floor like this, wondering what's happened. And as I've been laying down, I've looked up and I just seen this front wheel coming towards me, and the front wheel's got real close to my head and whipped around, and I just thought, fuck, someone's watched me try to do a G-turn, and they've seen me go over the bars, and then they've just done a G-turn around me. So I looked up to see who it was. Of course it was Ephraim, and I've looked right in his face. He's looking at me when he's doing the G-turn. I've looked at him, and when I've caught his eye, he's gone, be a lot easier if you had a front brake. probably wondering what that story's got to do with 10 years of Flatmatters. To be honest, I am too. Okay, so that story is important for 3 reasons. Firstly, you've got to know that Ephraim is right about most things in Flatland, and he was definitely right about that because I didn't learn G-turns until 10 years later. Number 2, there would have been no Flatland competitions in the UK if it wasn't for Ephraim. When I first started riding, there were loads of competitions there, and even though Ephraim was a pro rider, he made sure, went out of his way to make sure that there was pretty much an amateur Flatland circuit in the UK, and King of Concrete, Urban Games, Bike Show, and when I started riding, that was at a time when those contests were sort of moving towards being, not the King of Concrete, but the others were moving towards being like pro only. Ephraim fought really hard to have amateur Flatland featured, and a lot of good riders came up through that. James Smith and Keelan as well, Jason Ford, like those guys progressed really quickly, and they all owe a lot to Ephraim, and I was never as good as those guys, but I progressed pretty fast in the first couple of years because there were so many events, so many jams and so many contests, and I always wanted to be ready for those and have a new trick for each one, and there was a lot, so I had to ride a lot and practice hard to learn those tricks in time. We all owe Ephraim a lot. That year at the Urban Games, it was announced that it would be pro only, and Ephraim, and we contacted Ephraim and Chris Job, and they just said, bring your bikes, get them in, and we'll just run it. We'll just run amateur Flatland, guerrilla style. And I'll never forget that because Ephraim was a pro rider and he didn't have to do that, but he's always had the best interests of Flatland at heart. Number 3, Ephraim's not afraid to speak his mind. If he sees any injustice in Flatland, he won't hesitate to go and pick that bone. It doesn't matter who it's with or wherever they are. He's always got the core values of Flatland close to his heart. Originality, difficulty, and just general progression and growth of the sport. Flatmatters is a forum which features those core values of Flatland. I feel like really what Ephraim does with Flatmatters is keep Flatland on the straight and narrow, and keep control of it for the real riders. Flatmatters, if people don't have any videos on Flatmatters, but there's some big shot on Instagram, then they're really not doing anything at all interesting in terms of Flatland. Kids could go on Instagram, for example, and they might be lucky, they might find Vicky or James White or Pete Olsen, Alex Chamberlain, Mattias, whoever it is. But there's other people there they might find who look like they're top of the game. But you look at the pictures of them and it's they're in weird locations that aren't good to ride, and they're wearing designer clothes, and they're in weird positions, about to fall off, pushing into tricks. There's a lot of people out there who are doing stuff that isn't legit, and they're not progressing and they're not contributing to the growth of our sport. And I feel like Flatmatters really sifts through the bullshit. I suppose that's how I'd say it. So just having a look at some of the questions Ephraim sent me. What would you say over 10 years is Flatmatters' biggest contribution to the sport? When you think of Flatmatters, what do you think of? What's your first memory of Flatmatters? Well, look, to be honest, personally for me, and as should be the case for most Flatlanders, Flatmatters is just the tip of the iceberg, really. I've been riding Flatland for 15 years. I've known Ephraim for 15 years. I'm from the UK. He's been the leader of our scene. He built up a lot of events there. He wrote for Ride UK. He was pro rider. He's done a lot for our scene. And despite his success in riding personally, he's never forgot sort of where he came from. He's never forgot about the kids. And yeah, he's always contributed a lot to our scene. So Flatmatters is just what he does now, and what he's done for 10 years. But yeah, it's tip of the iceberg for me, really. Like, I feel like he's just, this is just one way that he contributes to the growth of our sport, and it's not going to be the last. It might last forever, but it's not going to be the only thing he does. Yeah, he's just a great guy, really. Like, what can I say? I mean, I owe him a lot, really. Like, I seriously don't know what I'd be doing right now if it hadn't been for sort of some of those events that I attended as a beginner in the UK, you know, because they really sort of like lit a fire in me, you know. Yeah, I guess that's that. Yeah, thanks for everything, man.